My girlfriend stole $104 from my bank. When caught, she freaked out, tried to break down my door, and lawyered up for a hearing only to be exposed by my video evidence. I am a senior at a large state university. This incident occurred during the first semester of my freshman year. I was chosen for a specialized honors program that placed me in a co-educational dormitory with all the other participants in the program. As an inexperienced freshman, I quickly entered into a relationship with a fellow freshman girl who lived directly above me. We will refer to her as Megan. It was convenient to date someone who resided so close, but everyone else in our dorm disliked Megan due to her incessant talking, which usually revolved around herself. She frequently boasted about being a fairly aggressive individual, but for some reason, I failed to see that significant warning sign. Immediately after Thanksgiving break, following an evening class, I received a call from my mother, who had noticed some suspicious transactions on my checking account. At that time, I did not possess a credit card, so this account and debit card served as my sole means of accessing my savings while living on campus. I rarely needed to make purchases throughout the semester, so I was baffled to discover that $104.29 had been withdrawn from my bank account over the course of 2 weeks, comprised of 6 food orders from Grubhub. At this juncture, I trusted Megan, yet I felt compelled to inquire about the money immediately. She denied any involvement and recommended that I cancel my debit card. After a lengthy telephone conversation with the bank, I proceeded to do just that. Subsequently, I contacted Grubhub customer service via Twitter. "Hello, my card was stolen and used for food orders on these specific dates. Can I obtain the receipts?" They provided me with the first and last receipts, but they had to obscure the personal information of the account holder. I use the term obscure lightly because they merely applied the Snapchat drawing tool, and Megan's name remained clearly visible on both receipts. Furthermore, the most recent receipt was only 2 hours old. She was likely still consuming the food when I canceled my debit card. It is important to note that both Megan and I had unlimited dining plans paid for by our respective parents, and we lived merely 500 feet from the nearest dining facility. She did not need to order food, nor did she require my money to do so. Thus, I messaged her again. "I have the receipts from Grubhub. Are you absolutely certain you did not make those orders?" Her response was, "F you for suspecting me." Fairly aggressive, don't you think? I devised a plan to gather security camera footage of her retrieving the order from that evening. However, by midnight, Megan appeared at my door in tears and confessed to everything, adding that she was also a serial shoplifter. Worn out, I sent her away and decided to address the situation in the morning. By the following day, everyone in our dorm seemed to be aware of the developments, likely because Megan had already begun sharing her version of the events. I sent Megan a breakup message and resolved to consider the $104.29 a loss. At least I managed to escape without harm, right? Well, less than 2 days later, she entered my room when I was not paying attention. I was seated at my desk when I noticed her silently standing behind me. "Megan, give me my belongings. Where are my belongings?" Me, what belongings? Megan, you know. I truly did not know. She rummaged through the room, searching for something she refused to specify. Just as quickly as she had entered, she left, and I locked the door, fully aware that this was not yet resolved. Within a minute, she was back. She stood outside my door, knocking and demanding I let her return inside. The knocking quickly escalated in intensity. She yelled, "I know you're fing in there," and "Open the mother-fing door." Keep in mind that we lived in a dorm inhabited by students in our program who were all acquaintances, and they could all hear her. Before long, Megan was shaking the handle of my door. Next, she began forcefully throwing herself against it, trying to break it down. I lived next to my resident assistant, but judging by the absence of any response, he was likely elsewhere. So I quickly pulled out my phone and texted him to summon backup. Meanwhile, I observed my sturdy wooden door bending and giving way. I even heard it crack slightly. My resident assistant was stationed in another building, so he dispatched 3 of his colleagues to de-escalate the situation. They took Megan downstairs, where she revealed that the stuff she wanted was merely the T-shirt and keychain that she had given me for my birthday. Whatever, I allowed her to take those. I just wanted this to conclude. However, once I recounted my experience to the resident life staff, They filed university paperwork to establish a no-contact order between myself and Megan. They also suggested that I reach out to the campus police, who stated that I should seek reimbursement for my stolen money through small claims court. I couldn't even get there without a vehicle or funds for an Uber. Apologies, Judge Judy. At the request of the campus police, I also contacted the Title Roman IX office at my school and sent them the account of everything you have just read. They were quite interested, to put it mildly, although I did not desire any trouble. I simply wanted a clean breakup and a fresh beginning, but a Title Roman IX representative informed me that they were filing 3 misconduct charges against Megan: theft, threatening violent conduct, and inciting an intervention by university staff. The representative asked me to serve as a witness in Megan's disciplinary hearing the following semester. I tentatively agreed, just before the representative set the hearing date for February 14th, Valentine's Day. I initially thought it was a joke, but they actually scheduled it for that day. When the day of the hearing arrived, the no-contact order was still in place, but several friends had been keeping an eye on Megan. For one, she had failed all of her classes in the fall. A classmate from my math course confessed that Megan had attempted to engage with him romantically while she was still dating me, and he had to repeatedly reject her advances. Even worse, Megan continued spreading a distorted version of the entire saga in an attempt to sway my friends against me. So, when I discovered that she had found a new boyfriend, it felt satisfying to know that the Valentine's Day disciplinary hearing likely disrupted any plans they may have had. I arrived alone at the disciplinary board's office, uncertain of what to anticipate. The board was composed of graduate students, and the hearing was expected to extend into the evening. Unlike me, Megan did not attend alone. She brought along both of her parents as character witnesses, which was not even applicable in this situation. This was not an actual courtroom, as you will soon see. Moreover, Megan's parents had also hired a lawyer to defend her against the allegations. The board recognized that this was unnecessary, but Megan's parents were so convinced of their daughter's innocence that they had already paid for this 3-piece suit to represent her. In the interest of fairness, the board members offered me pro bono legal assistance, a junior majoring in economics, whom we will refer to as Jimmy. Jimmy had already reviewed my account of the events from the fall, and thanks to my screenshots of the Grubhub receipts, he mentioned there was a reasonably good chance of the charges being upheld. Then, I revealed something I had kept to myself for months when Megan attempted to break down my door, and I took out my phone to message my resident assistant. I also recorded the entire incident. Jimmy was thrilled with the video. There was Megan, kicking, yelling, and clearly trying to force her way into my dorm room. It was the evidence I needed, and no one anticipated it. During the hearing, when it was my turn to present my case against Megan, Jimmy played the video on a large screen for everyone to see. The room erupted. In that moment, I recognized that Megan had truly convinced everyone that I was the dishonest one. In her narrative, I had granted her permission to order food using my account. She told her parents that she had politely asked me for her belongings, which I had rudely hidden from her in my room. In Megan's version of events, I was the sociopath attempting to tarnish her reputation. Before I presented the video, it was her word against mine. I still did not seek vengeance, even after discovering that Megan attempted to deceive me. However, when I witnessed her parents reacting to the video with disbelief, "Why didn't you tell us you did this?" and her lawyer causing a ruckus, this evidence was not disclosed in pre-trial, and a board member standing over him, "Sir, this is not a court of law. Please take your seat," and the lawyer exclaiming, "Objection," while she countered, "We do not have objections, this is not a court of law," and Jimmy, my newfound ally, just trying not to laugh out loud. That is when I understood how rewarding revenge can feel when it is justifiable and deserved. The board found Megan accountable for all 3 allegations. My side of the bench advised that the university terminate her housing contract and require her to pay restitution. Her side suggested only restitution and a reprimand. The board reached a compromise. Her family repaid most of the money she took. Most. Because 2 of the 6 orders were identical, and the lawyer convinced the board that I had duplicated an order, and Megan was compelled to relocate to a different dormitory. This likely benefited her regardless, as every student in our program's building was aware of everything she had done and lied about. They refused to speak to her, and no one desired to be her roommate. By the time she had to change buildings, she had already failed all of her courses again. After covering her tuition, her unused dining plan, her lawyer fees, and her restitution, Megan's parents ultimately withdrew her from school. Where are they now? The last I heard, Megan returned as a part-time student, but I never encountered her again due to the ongoing no-contact order. I have since become Facebook friends with the individual Megan attempted to seduce. Additionally, Jimmy and I connected on LinkedIn. As for me, well, I no longer engage in relationships with fairly aggressive individuals. Story 2. I paid off my car, refused my boyfriend's request for the title, and now he says I'd let the animals starve if he gets a job. WTF. Hello, Reddit. I am seeking your advice. Please give it to me honestly. I am a 20-year-old female, and I have been in a relationship with my boyfriend, who is 21 years old, for nearly 3 years. He has never maintained a steady job, opting instead for temporary work and refusing to accept a typical 9-to-5 position, claiming that it is a waste of time. For almost our entire relationship, we have been living in his grandmother's house. This has been going on for 3 years. He has held a maximum of 6 informal construction jobs that paid poorly, leading him to quit frequently. In contrast, I have had 5 jobs in the last 2 years while we have been together. During our first year, he insisted that I should not work, believing that a woman should not have to undertake a man's responsibilities. Fast forward a year and we are struggling financially. A girl needs to eat, right? We barely have enough to feed ourselves, so I decided enough was enough. I secured my first job at $12 per hour, which lasted for a while. The hours were not great, but I managed. I transferred between jobs due to transportation problems and limited hours. Recently, I found a vehicle in August 2024 that cost $2,500. It's reliable and runs well, but my boyfriend was unable to assist me with the purchase. I saved money and made payments until I paid it off in November. Thankfully, the seller was willing to accept installments. However, my boyfriend wanted his name on the title as well. I firmly objected, stating that since I paid for the vehicle, it belongs to me. He became angry, but that didn't matter to me. I recently held 2 jobs, one as a cashier at a low-paying fresh market and another as an informal caregiver for an elderly woman with Alzheimer's disease. I have pleaded with my boyfriend to find work so we can move out of his grandmother's house and have our own place, but he refuses to budge. We have 2 dogs and a cat, which I love dearly, but I foot the bill for their food and medications, as well as my boyfriend's weekly marijuana expenses. It feels like I get nothing in return. He has a dog and is considering breeding it, thinking he can make thousands without having to work. However, the dog hasn't been bred, and there is no income. I find myself spending all my money to care for his dog, and I would feel terrible if I allowed her to go hungry. Now, back to the present. I lost my job at the market due to issues with coworkers, and have been trying to save money since acquiring my vehicle in hopes of getting a new rental. I was managing well until I lost my job, leaving me without proof of the income required for the rental, meaning I can't secure the house. Once again, I asked my boyfriend to help by finding a 9-to-5 job or even shoveling driveways for $20 each. He could do 10 driveways and make $200 in one day. I'd be happy to do it myself if he won't. People have told me that he is useless and that I should not waste my time with him. They suggest I should leave. I must confess that I detest cleaning, but I do contribute what I can to assist his grandmother. When I work my nursing job from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., I then go to the market from 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. each day. By the time I get home, I have no energy left to clean. After a long day of working hard, I don't want to wash dishes. When I suggested to my boyfriend that he could help out since I am handling 2 jobs, he said that cleaning is a woman's responsibility. I told him that I am working 2 jobs, and he could at least do the dishes. He claimed that if he got a job, I would let the animals starve. He has been feeding and taking care of the dogs daily, so I thought we were working together, but I pay for everything. He wants to be a house husband, but he refuses to get a job that might help us move out of his grandmother's house because he believes I would neglect the animals. I suggested we work different shifts, with me doing the night shift and him taking the day shift, but he refused that too. He insisted that if he worked, he would have to come home to a messy house and starving pets. Reddit, I'm at a loss. Am I the jerk for not wanting to support him anymore? What should I do? I do not have the finances to leave, but I don't really want to either. Please kindly assist me. Update 1. Yesterday, I had to euthanize the dog I mentioned in my post, the one my boyfriend wanted to breed. It was heart-wrenching to see her suffer from hip dysplasia and neuromuscular disease. A kind woman offered to help me and ended up taking us to the veterinarian, where we made the painful decision to put her to sleep. Thank you to this lady who traveled over 3 hours to support us. She mentioned that she could lose all her fundraising help if she assisted a breeder, so I had to clarify that I am not involved in that my boyfriend is responsible for that choice. I told him that his desire to breed dogs interferes with my future, as I want to attend college, see the world, and become a veterinarian, but I can't pursue my goals while financially supporting his ambitions. When we returned home after the vet visit, his 15-year-old brother had a meltdown, claiming that he is the only one facing challenges and feeling abandoned. He said that someone who should have his back called him a loser and has not spoken to me since yesterday morning. The night before, he came into my room and started yelling at me because I told him it was his responsibility for not spending more time with his dog before she was put to sleep. He gets angry because my dog is not allowed near his, despite mine being a sweetheart. My dog is a rescue, and while I trust him around other animals, my boyfriend insists he's a danger. I pointed out that he could have asked me to put my dog away so he could spend time with his dog, but instead, he didn't make an effort and got furious at me. He even suggested I should just end my dog's life and blame me for it afterward. I told him to leave my room if he was going to speak to me like that, and he ended up leaving for about 15-20 minutes before returning in silence. This morning, I got ready for work at 8 a.m. and left at 9 a.m. I told him I love him and I would see him later, but for the first time, we didn't share a kiss or any affection, and I didn't hear him say he loved me back. I walked out feeling the weight of uncertainty. Now, I am at work with the elderly woman I care for, trying to think of a plan. I have a supportive friend in Georgia willing to drive 11 hours to help me escape this situation, but I mentioned I needed time since I just started a new job, and my vehicle is in the shop for repairs. I don't know where I will end up, but I know it needs to be away from here. I don't want to abruptly break up with my boyfriend right after we had to make the difficult choice regarding his dog. This is the first time either of us has faced euthanizing a pet, and I'm concerned about the potential fallout if I attempt to leave. Reddit, what are your thoughts?